Welcome to another episode of the Dani Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of being with Dr. Justin Rabinowitz. Thank you for the podcast. I've been wanting to have you for a while for many reasons. One, because I always see you here at the club.
That's right.
But two, I really like what you're doing with your business. And I'll start right off the bat. What do you do?
So I am by license a chiropractor, and it's a funny thing because now when people ask me what I do, I say, well, it's complicated, right? So I graduated chiropractic school in 2012, and 2015 I opened my own practice, and now I have a practice called Strive to Move, which I still own, but I'm no longer the treating doctor in that practice. I have managing partners. What I do now is based on the business model, which I'm sure we get into. I now coach other chiropractors and mentor them in building their own practice like we have at Strive to Move. So I guess you could call me a business coach at this point, a consultant.
And just to understand, a lot of chiropractors, they're basically I haven't seen many chiropractors that work for bigger practices, right? Usually at least from my experience, usually every chiropractor has their own practice. And exactly. That's it, right?
Yeah, it's one of the more, if you look at medicine in general, like traditional, allopathic, non-traditional, it's one of the more entrepreneurial professions. If you think about it, most people go to chiropractic school with the exact same thing you said, Dani, where they might have grown up and drive down the street and either went to a chiropractor or have seen it, where I always say you kind of hang up the shingle and open your own business. In contrast to a medical doctor or even a physical therapist, where you can work for a hospital, and around here, Summit Medical Group or Hospital for Special Surgery. So you are a very well-trained employee. Now you're a doctor, but you're essentially an employee of an organization. And, I've even seen in the last 10, 15 years, very rarely, I'd imagine you list 5 or 10 of your doctors. They are mostly in a bigger system. They are now employees for a variety of reasons. But the system in general is that most medical providers are employees of big organizations, where chiropractors are very much, you graduate from school understanding that you're going to have to hang up the shingle and become a business owner, which, you never really signed up for.
Yeah. So what made you go into, you're out of school, and what made you go into business yourself? Like, well, what was that click that you said, okay, I got to go do this on my own,
Yeah, great question. And I was going through pictures the other day to figure out a social media post, and I scrolled back to 2000 and I think it was 14. I was about 2 years into an associateship in a practice, and I was having a really great experience, and it was time for contract renewals. And I have a screenshot of the contract that I was given. And I looked back at the other day, the contract was very good and it was fair. And actually I got a $30,000 raise. But what happened was my bonus structure now became based on the business rather than based on my own production. So I got an increase in base salary, so I was almost less risk, but now my incentive structure was now betting on the business versus betting on myself. And in that moment, I didn't know why, but I was like, all right, I'm done here. And what I realized in that moment was that, like, all right, if you want to bet on yourself, it's time to do your own practice. It's time to bet on yourself, because you are literally saying you don't want to stay here because you don't want to bet on this business. You want to bet on you. So I was like, all right, then I got to go.
How big was the business?
It was I had my boss. I was her first associate she ever hired. I don't remember the revenue at the time. It was a high 6-figure practice that, when I started there, I thought that I would eventually be a partner in that practice. And I think over time, like many things happen, you recognize that there are things that potentially I'd want to do differently or look a little bit different or kind of carve my own path. And at that time in my life, it was like I didn't have much risk, no family, no kids, that it was, if I'm going to do it, this is the time. And so going back to that in 2015, it was, let's just go and kind of see what happens.
So tell me a little bit about, like, because I've been somewhat in my doing my own business, like self-employed since I can remember. Always in sales, right? But I know a lot of people that they just like to have that security. And I say security because there's no security working for anybody, but True. Like to have that security. So was that something that you always wanted to do, or it was something that you felt like, oh my God, like this makes too much. It doesn't make sense for me to be working for someone else. I just have to go on my own, because I know a lot of people struggle, all types of businesses. They struggle with that. It's like, should I take the risk of just going on my own?
Right. Yeah. When I look back at leaving, the goal that I had then 10 years later and in a much different place in my life is still exactly the same. When I left my job, which was stable and secure, I said to myself, I'm going to start my own business. And my only goal is to just make sure that I can pay for myself to live. And at the time, it was probably, I was living in an apartment, like it was myself. I was spending nothing on anything. It was probably like $3,000 a month. And I was like, if I can do that, if I can afford to do that, I'm going to be good. And to this day, I still feel the same way. Now, life has changed and bigger house and kids and the whole thing. So that expense has gone up, but I still live in the same world where so long as I can afford to live, I'm good. And if I ever at a point couldn't, I would go figure it out.
Yeah.
So my mindset then is the same as now. And I think that's why I feel like I live in two worlds where I live like that. It's like, I just want to make my bare minimum. Like that's the minimum required to survive. But then also I have massive aspirations. And it's like, I live in both sides all the time. I think most people are very much afraid of, they're not going to have enough. They're not going to have enough. From a mindset perspective, anything above my like house, food, kids are safe, healthcare that I need, reasonable, is a bonus to me. Most people aren't like that. My wife and I have these conversations all the time, and she's admitted, and she has the awareness, which is why we do so well together. She's like, we live a certain lifestyle now. We belong to a country club and all these things. She's like, I don't know. She says, I'm very fearful of having to go backwards. I'm not. And so for me, it's always been like, that's like the mindset that I have around it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, it's a tough balancing act because me being in sales for such a long time, I've seen myself where you start making money and you go like, oh my God, I could do great things. I can buy a new car. I can buy multiple houses. I can do everything. And then at the same time, you have to just pull back and say, look, I just need to focus on the basics. I just need to make sure that, hey, just need to do small things. And, but, good thing that you mentioned about your wife, because I think that's one of the biggest, it's very important to have a partner that helps you, that understands what you have to go through in any business.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I probably coached 400 so business owners now, chiropractors, PT, mostly chiros, physical therapy, acu, and the number one cheat code of a business is having a supportive spouse. You have two options with a spouse. They're either very supportive and on your team, or they're neutral. The opposite, you're out. Like if they're working against you, you're out. You're not going to make it. You're not going to survive. You're either going to get divorced or your business is going to fail.
Yeah.
So you can have a spouse that supports you, or they're neutral. That's my wife talk about that a lot. Like she's not the cheerleader type, but I don't need that. And I've always told her, I was like, you can, it's nice when you like say, great job. I said, I think being neutral is great as well. Like I'm good. If it ever went the other way where I felt like I was competing with you and trying to run the business, we're going to have an issue. Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you don't get home and you're in a happy place, it's tough to just go ahead and handle the challenges,
100%.
The mental challenges that a business brings in, and all the things that you have to basically just figure out along the way, which is honestly, I'd say the main reason why I've been asking you, hey, let's have a conversation, is because I see your posts on social media and everything, and you're always talking about systems, about building processes and things that will allow you to scale.
Right.
So like right off the bat, you open up your practice. Like when was that moment that you realized like, holy crap, I cannot just treat this as another job, or just making money. I need to basically put the foundation to build something bigger.
I always knew. So I would say in the beginning, my aspirations and my vision went far beyond my skills. And so from day one, I knew that's what I wanted. I knew I wanted to, where I am today. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I think because where I am today, I'm living, and the life I have and the team I have and the people around me and the thing I built is what I always sort of thought I was going to do. The challenge that I had for years was that I didn't have the skills to be able to do that. And so, if I opened in 2015, it wasn't really in 2017 where I kind of had that first come to Jesus moment of you want to get to here, but you can't do it. And that's where I found a coach and a mentor. That was my first sort of step into doing into learning another set of skills. I had the skills of being a doctor. I went to school for a lot of years to learn that. And I had to learn a different skill set, learn how to market, learn how to sell, learn how to then manage and lead and build the systems that you're talking about and back-end CRM, the whole thing, right? But 2017 was that first moment where I did that. And that year was the first time I hired employees. And so from 2017 to 20 was a period where I kind of went through that phase. And then we got into 2020, or going into 2020. And that was when I had sort of the next moment of, okay, I need to redo this business, which I did. But those were two very distinct moments of, the first one was I didn't have the skills. The second one, I didn't have the business model. And it was almost in 2 or 3 year cycles where it kind of kept happening. And that's what I've typically seen in my businesses. Now it's, about a decade of being in business where everything sort of happens in 2 to 3 year buckets. You kind of like fix the problem, build it. You kind of live in that situation, and then you have to go and do it again. And that's kind of where I've seen businesses grow.
So now let's say, okay, so you get to a moment where you're like, okay, people know me. Mm-hmm. The phones are ringing.
Yeah.
Things are doing pretty good. When do you know when is the right time to go ahead and hire an employee? Because I'm sure that this is like, it's a huge step, like when you feel like, oh my God, now I'm responsible for someone else's livelihood.
Right.
How's that? When do you know when is the right time to make that move?
I mean, the difference between so most people say, well, I'll hire when I'm ready. What should I feel? What should I do? The answer is ready is not a feeling. I mean, ready is not a day on the calendar. It's like, you have to just decide. It's a decision. Ready is a decision. The reason why most businesses get stuck, most small business owners get stuck, is because they never think they could find anyone to do it like they can. And they're right. But it doesn't mean you don't grow the business. And so at the first level, if you're a solo business owner, the first thing you're looking at is, what are the things that I'm doing that I can hire someone at a cheaper rate for me, right? So can I hire someone to do admin work or answer the phone? Dan Martell, who's like who I was in a coaching program with, he has a book called Buy Back Your Time, which is the principle. It's like the first thing you do is you have to buy back your time. And so if you look at your calendar tactically and schedule, and like, I am scheduling my own patients, I am doing intake with them, I am answering the phone, I am writing email. Those are things that you can find someone for cheaper than what your hourly rate should be or is as a professional. That's when you start the process. And that process continues to go all the way up. It's why I don't treat patients anymore. Same thing. It's like, could I find someone to do this as good or close as good as me for a cheaper hourly rate than mine? And the answer was yes. It's like, okay, so I can't do that anymore.
But I mean, I have to say, because I've been to your practice, and it feels like, when I speak to you and when I speak to, I can't remember their name, but when
Ashton and Kaylee,
they like, everything just seems like, okay, well, you guys, like, it's the same brand, it's the same feeling that you get everywhere.
Yeah.
Which it's a tough thing to achieve.
Yeah. What I would say on that is, I have a coach. I have a family coach, actually. My wife and I work with a coach to help us like learn how to be parents, and his name's Joe, and he uses the term as a parent, which is the same business, is constant, gentle pressure. And so the values, the standards, the things that we talk about in the business, that I talk about, are constant, gentle pressure all the time of what we believe and what I have built here, and to let them be their own person, but also coming from, this is the business that I created that's been successful, that I want them to help grow, but there's a foundation that it's been built on that they have to be able to meet that. And my job is always to make sure I'm challenging that. And a lot of times what I call it, actually, Dani, is this is a little bit, you'd think it's off topic, but it isn't. The thing that my job now for them or my team is I want to speak life into them, like speak about life, speak about who they are, the standards they hold, how they talk to people, the relationship they have, conversations they have. And I want them to come to the conclusion and the realization that, like, all right, like, this is something I should adopt and adapt to. And the fact that you said that as someone who went into the practice means that I've done my job, which is great to hear.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, listen, from the first moment I even got the message on Instagram, because that's how I realized that you were in the business. From the moment I made the appointment to the moment that I was there, everything was just completely seamless. And being in business, you realize that, okay, this just didn't happen by accident. Right. There's a lot of thought into this and a lot of practice.
Yep.
A lot of practice, yeah. Now, going into another topic, which I see it all the time, and I'm very interested in, is like, you always talk about the insurance. I think it's insurance-based model, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I see you always pushing that to another chiropractors
Right.
where I guess you have to move away from that. Or what's
Yeah. So I'll tell you actually a story that's happened quite recently, just for people that aren't in the industry. Not to go too far into the weeds, but in Oregon and Washington State, there was an insurance panel that for chiropractors for 30 minutes of treatment would pay about $200 for that 30-minute session, which is not bad. It's $400 an hour for a set. In the insurance world, it's like unheard of, crazy, right? Pretty good, right? So if you're an in-network provider or you take insurance, the doctor would be reimbursed that much for that period of time. I found out because one of my clients sent it to me that on like a Friday, they get an email from this insurance carrier and there was a negotiation that happened behind the scenes. And long story short, literally Monday, that same session that was going to be reimbursed from 200 was going to like $60. And so if you're out there and you don't understand the insurance side of it, just think about it. Let's say you're an entrepreneur and you sell something. Let's just say you're real estate, and it kind of actually probably happened, right? That you typically get a 3% commission, and then the next day there's a law passed that you're going to get a 0.5% commission. It's like, what the heck? Like, what am I going to do? And so you don't have control of the business at that point. And so as a provider, you have to make a decision. And here's the challenge. So think about it. Most people get into being some version of a doctor. Yeah, okay, you can make money. I'd argue chiropractor is probably the worst at that, but neither here nor there. You get into it to help people. And you want to help people. And you want to give a requisite level of service that you feel good about giving. So that's time, that's a specific technique. Like you want to be able to provide that to people who come in that are trusting you with their health, right? What's more important than that? And then you are stuck with a decision that is like, I have two options here. I'm either going to go out of business if I continue to practice in that way, which is what I believe is best, or I have to change something. I have to now go, if they're going to pay me 80% less, the only way for me to survive if I continue to accept this insurance is to spend 80% less time and to see more people. So instead of spending 30 minutes with a client, of which I believe that might be best for them, I probably need to spend, 5-8 minutes.
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? And if you're in that model, you're continually forced to play that game, which is, we've all been to doctors here. And you're like, wow, I can't believe, if you spend I went to an ENT last week and the doctor was in the room with me for like 12 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe this is that long. But it's not his fault or her fault. It's because you have to see the amount of volume of patients in order to make money because the insurance, they're in business. They need to make money. And so that as the preamble, the thing for me when I was sort of playing that game is that I just never felt in control, where that happened to me as well, where one day, we went from $200, $300 for a treatment to like $2,450. It's like, this is insane. Like, how am I going back to, you support people, you have a business, you have a family. I can't do this. So people have to, you're either forced to or you decide to opt out and you become a cash service. You become a service like a regular business, like a country club, but you don't use insurance to buy golf balls. Yeah. And so you have to become that type of business. There are a lot of challenges with it, but it's like, which option do you want? And the thing for me is I want the option that might be harder on the surface, but at least I have control of my business, and at least I can offer, which is the key point, at least I can offer a service that I'm proud of, that I want to deliver to people.
Yeah, and I think it's look, I go to a bunch of chiropractors all the time because I play a stupid amount of golf, right? And I'm always hurt. So a couple of years ago, I realized I was going to this guy, and this guy was basically just coming in, putting a machine, and then just moving back and forth. Super nice guy and everything, right? And then I check my insurance, and I see that, hey, I've been to this guy like 50 times, but they're only paying him for 25.
Yeah.
And one day I go like, hey, listen, I don't know if you know this, but it looks like they're not paying you. It was, yeah, that's what it is. And I'm like, can I pay you? What's the, and he's like, no, unfortunately, that's what the way the business is. But what that made me realize was he's not doing his full, everything in his power to help me.
Correct.
He's basically just saying, it is somewhat of his fault, but at the end of the day, it's just a system that he's in, that he's basically just trying to survive and just pay the bills and do the things that, that he's forced to. But the bottom line, like you said, and I deal with it being in the mortgage business and being real estate, is that sometimes you do by doing what's easy, you're actually doing a disservice to your client.
100%.
And I could take an application, a mortgage application, and be like, okay, here it is. These are the documents. Boom, boom. Forget about it. And yes, I'll give you a low rate. Am I really explaining? Am I really adding value to this?
Right.
Anybody else can do that,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, every time I see you put those posts about that, I'm like, yeah, that's because you're adding value. You're doing the right thing for the client. Is that what made you go into consulting, or is that?
So the thing with the consulting started actually when I was in chiropractic school, and it's never really changed, which is why I think I believe so strongly in the message. When I was in the way that chiropractic typically works is actually, you described it perfectly. There's really only two ways to be in the way I saw it back then. It's still pretty true, is you can either, there's a lot of people that do pretty well as chiropractors, but they typically run a practice that they just see a ton of volume, like hundreds of patients, sometimes in a day. It's insane. And they can make money doing that just because you can charge $50 if you see 100 people in a day. Do the math on that. Like literally, like 1 minute in each room type of thing. That can happen. I didn't want to do that. The problem was, as I observed it back then, on the other side, the people offering like really high level service and being really good doctors and providing real value to people, they had no idea how to make any money. And it was a disaster. Like lucky to make a teacher's salary, which is not bad, but you went to become a doctor. You know what I mean? Like they're not making a living doing it.
And it's not cheap school.
No, it's the same as medical school.
Yeah.
It's the same as medical school.
Yeah.
So to me, fundamentally, there was just a problem the way I saw it. And when I got into my own business, the thing that I said to myself was, I'm not going to last very long if, number one, I'm not making a living, or number two, I'm not practicing in a way that I feel good about the service that I'm delivering to people. Both of those things needed to be true for me. And I wasn't willing to compromise on either one. And so my practice, Strive to Move, is basically that philosophy done. We need to make money. I want to make money. I'm not shy about wanting to make a living and helping people and providing and whatever that looks like. At the exact same time, I need to provide a service to people that I feel good about, that it is a high level service, that people are going to get what they pay for, that we're going to deliver value the way in which we believe to be true. And so that for me, it's very simple, but not easy to execute, because you have to be really good at being the doctor and you have to be really good at being the business person, which is two completely different skill sets. And so the coaching happened kind of naturally as I built my practice to do that. People started asking me, like, how'd you do it? And the reason why it grew, and it has grown quite fast, is because it's been a business where, when I first started, someone said to me, I didn't know I needed you. It's like, I knew I needed you, but I didn't know you existed. And that was where, people were like, they either were doing this or wanted to do this, but didn't know how or didn't know who. And so I came along and said, all right, you can do both. You for you guys that want to practice in this way, for you guys that want to make money, I got it. And that's how the whole consulting thing came about. Yeah.
I mean, it's, and I'm guessing it's just a different mindset that you need,
I think it's like anything in life. The thing I tell my clients now, so statistically, it's interesting. So if you look at small businesses in America, statistically, I think the majority of businesses, 80%, 70%, make between 250 and like 450,000. So it's not exactly right, but it's close. So most businesses get to that amount of revenue. 5% of businesses get to 7 figures. I think it's less than 1%. It's 0.7% that get to like 10 million, right? So we have two businesses that basically are 7 figures. And so every time I talk to my team and they're like, oh, it's hard, it's this, it's that, I'm like, yes, statistically it is hard. If we walk down the street, and here's the other thing. If less than, I think it's 10% of people of the population own small businesses. So play this out for a second. You're a doctor, which is a small percent of the population. Then you are one of 10% of people that own a small business. Okay. Then you go to someone, the 5% that are build a 7-figure business. If you walk down the street of the 100 people, the likelihood that someone is in that caliber, a person that is that level, one, maybe, probably not. So of course it's going to, like, what do you expect?
Yeah. How many people are you helping currently? I mean, I see you doing a bunch of events.
Yeah. We've put about 400 people, I think, through our program since it started. We currently have about 140 members in our world, chiros, PTs, a few acupuncturists, and they are, I think we're in 40 something states in the US. We're in Canada. We have probably 10% of our membership in Canada. We have had people take our course in Australia and actually Singapore. So we've one guy in Singapore, his name is Dr. Bentley Woon. And when that came through, I was like, whoa, this is quite cool.
This is cool, yeah.
And we actually have our team too. They're coming. It's quite remarkable. We're recording this on December, 2nd. We have our annual team retreat this weekend. And I have a mix of people that are in person and virtual, like team members. So we have 2 of our team members that live in Colombia, the country of Colombia. They are coming to New Jersey tomorrow, and they're going to be here. So I told my dad that. He's like, wait, what? He's like, I got to meet them. Like, what are they doing here? It's like crazy.
Well, are they coming here? Or?
Yeah, they're coming. They're going to be here, and then we're going to be down at the beach doing a team retreat. But we have team members in the Philippines. We have 2 in Colombia. We have 6 or 7 in New Jersey. So it's crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody had to ask you, one of the, like, I guess, what are the common mistakes that a lot of chiros or a lot of people, like, because you mentioned you also help acupuncturists, like a lot of people in this business make?
The number one mistake tactically is they don't charge enough for what they're doing. The reason behind that gets quite interesting. The deeper reason that most business owners don't charge what they're supposed to is because they don't feel like they're worth it. Right. So that's the deeper seated reason. But at the most basic level, people come into my world and they give me every reason why they shouldn't, why they can't, why they're you've seen me do the post. This town is different. I can go into that. But really, the people that are most successful with us, they come into like an 8-week accelerator program, and 95% of the time, the ones that are successful do the first thing we tell them, which is to raise their price because they're just undercharging for their service. We, as an example, just to give you some basic numbers, I work with a lawyer she's $450 an hour. Right. I have a coach she's like a mental coach. She's about $400 an hour. And I have people in my program coming in and they're, $125 an hour, $150 an hour. Just their numbers they just don't work. And then they give me whatever reason it doesn't work in Canada. It doesn't matter. The business doesn't work. So the number one mistake people make is that our phrase in our business, Dani, is the math doesn't math. Like the math does not math. I'd imagine in your world, it's the same thing. Actually, I mean, mortgage world, and I know a little bit about it, but think about it when you're underwriting a deal. At some point, if I'm an investor and you want to underwrite a deal for it and the rent collected is under what the payment, the math doesn't math. Something has to change. The business, people do the same thing in their business. The math just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's it goes. It's something that whenever you go into business, you have to work on that mindset of getting rid of that thought of like, hey, I'm just charging too much right here. Because what you don't realize is that it hurts the customer and it hurts you as well. One mistake I used to make was that, the way it works with mortgages in some places, not everywhere, but in some places, you'll go ahead and depending on the interest rate, you'll make a certain amount of money in certain deals. And sometimes you'll be like, oh, I'm charging this person too much. I'm going to go ahead and just lower. But then once you get busy and you have 10 deals and then you go through your pipeline and you see, oh, this person I'm making $10,000 and this person I'm making $2,000. Even if you don't say, hey, I'm not going to help this person as much, like in the back of your mind, that's there.
100%.
And you actually end up just giving a lower level of service
100%.
Just because you're charging less. And besides, like you just like, if you don't, and I told this to a partner, a real estate partner that I work with, I was like, if people don't respect your time, like you have to make sure that you respect your time because there's no way to grow.
100%.
You know, there's definitely no way to grow if you don't do that. But besides that, what are another like kind of like pillars of what you teach? What is like, you know, like if somebody off the street was to come to you and say, hey, why should I join your system?
Yeah.
What is the main reason? You know?
I think at the end of the day, people, for the most part, if you have a professional degree, or, you know, even look at like a golf business, but if you have a skill set in a service-based business, you typically have a very unique skill set that you spent a lot of time honing. And then you enter into business. And the question that you should ask yourself is the amount of time, effort, and energy and focus you put on building the skill, whether it's being a chiropractor, being a golf professional, being a whatever, there's a business behind it. And the question becomes, do you have the business skills, the marketing skills, the sales skills? And for the most part, you know, they don't. The story, when I was first in a mentorship program, there's a PT that came on and she's like, oh, I'm not really good at marketing. And my mentor, he goes, all right, let's have that conversation. He's like, what'd you go to undergrad for? Well, 4 years of exercise science. Okay, great. 4 years of learning about the human body. Great. Then what happened next? I did 4 years of PT school. Great. So another 4 years learning how to treat the human body. And then what happened next? Well, I did a residency. Great. Another year of that. Okay. We're up to 9 years. Then what happened? Well, I worked in a practice as a clinical director for the next 4. So we're at 13 years. And how long have you owned your own business? 9 months. Do you see the problem? Like, you're saying you're not good at something. You've done it for 9 months and not well, and not even spent $1 learning it. You did another thing for 13 years. That lesson, Dani, by the way, is also how I enjoy golf now. When I first started playing golf, I was so mad because I wasn't good. And now it's like, dude, I play 14 rounds a year. So what do you expect? I have no skill set because I don't do it. Like, I'm good at business because I do it. I'm good at being a doctor because I've done it. Like, I spent the time. But most business owners, they just don't look at it as when they learn marketing or sales or whatever, finance or reading a P&L or managing people, they just don't do it. You know, they just don't fundamentally respect it enough to spend the time doing it. But you can't be good at something if you don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're good enough to go through medical school and, I mean, just to study anything with anatomy or all that stuff, you're good enough to learn about marketing. Maybe you don't have to be an expert, but you can go ahead and learn enough that you can hire the right people and that to put the vision together.
The problem is not the problem has never been the intelligence. To your point, right? The thing that's fascinating. So think about this. So mortgage is a bit different. Like, I work with some fitness people, it's a bit different. But if you think about my group of people, it's actually an unbelievably good case study, because every single person there has objectively had to get to a certain level academically. They've had to graduate college. They've had to graduate chiropractic school. They've had to pass national boards. So everyone that comes into my world, if we put them on a general intelligence and a stick-to-itiveness and a test, they would all be in the same bracket because they passed a certain amount of levels to get there. But then they come into my program and everyone gets the same information. Now, yes, it's customized based on their whatever, but like, for the most part, it's the same information. We have vastly and wildly different results. How is that possible? There's another factor to all of it, right? There's another factor to all of it. And I'm a sports guy. We take the game of golf. There are many, think about it. When you think about, they talk about golfers, like that guy who's a great player, but he couldn't win well, there's other factors other than just being able to hit balls. Like in business and in life and in golf and in sports, there's a lot of other factors that go into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to also just being able to do as I mentioned, the small things. You know, when it comes to golf, I saw, at least for me, I mean, I play a lot more than you, but just in golf and in business, sometimes it's just about like, okay, just taking little steps forward. Yeah. And sometimes we get so caught up in making sure that the next step is the right one. Yeah. And that's the worst thing that you can do. Just complete inaction just doesn't take you anywhere, you know?
But I think even the golf thing, because you and I play together quite often, if we played 10 times, we're probably around the same skill set, like fundamentally the same. If we played 10 times, you would beat me 9 out of 10, straight up, because you play more and do more. But think about that in business. If you have two business owners that are quite the same, their skill sets are about the same. The one that has done more, that invests more time in it, they're going to win the majority of the time. Will I get lucky once we have a bad day? Absolutely. But if I'm betting tomorrow we go out 10 times, I'm going to lose most of those times because you do it more than I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, in taking out the chiropractors and, I mean, in general business, like, what do you think, what's the biggest mistake that you think that small business owners do? Like, for example, real estate agents, or I know you
I'll tell you, you want to talk about real estate agents? I'll give you a story. So I'll give him a shout out here. My real estate agent, Pete Tverdoff, it was a wonderful lesson. I was looking to buy a investment property about 2 years ago. And at the time, 2023, there's not that many things on the market. Everything's overpriced. The rent, this game better than I do. Yeah, not that much there. And so we had talked about potentially wanting to buy something and how are we going to do it and what are we going to do. And he didn't really tell me what he was going to do. But about 6 weeks later, he called me back and he had a list of properties. And long story short, I ended up buying a property in New Brunswick. The way that it happened was that Pete, for 6 weeks, called hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that weren't listing their property. And the person that we bought it from, he literally told me the story. He cold calls this guy. He said, "Are you looking to sell? I have an investor that wants to buy." The guy said, "No way," hangs up the phone. 20 minutes later, the guy calls back. Long story short, the guy was like, "Yeah, actually, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with students. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with rent. I'm almost had this house paid off. I can get a check for a couple $100,000. Like, I'm good. I'm out." And he sold it to me. And so what that lesson taught me, what Pete taught me in that, is the reason why that deal went through was because Pete was just willing to do more in that moment than everyone else. Where I would guarantee you, and I don't know mortgage brokers, I don't know real estate, but I would guarantee you that 9 out of 10 people would have said, the economy's bad, nothing's on the market, there's a problem here, the listings are bad, I'll just wait till it gets better. But he went and played offense and called literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, got shit on multiple times, got told to F himself, like the whole thing. But he was just willing to do more. And so to get a business off the ground, to get to a point of stability, for most people, it's the amount of work that you're willing to put in.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this many times. Most of us are not big enough where the macroeconomics of, the situation, the bigger situations in the country, whatever tariffs, whatever is going on, is going to affect our business in a huge way.
Right.
A lot of times what is going to affect our business, a small business owner, is what they do day to day.
100%.
Listen, if you're doing, I don't know, $1 million, maybe you go from $1 million to 800,000 because of what's going on in the country. But in terms of if you're 100, there's really not going to be much. I mean, the difference is going to be your mentality and how you keep on going out there and putting yourself in the situations that are going to make you money.
I mean, the problem that most people have, if you really dissect it, is they're just not doing the work required, right? They're just not doing the work. If someone's listening to this and they're struggling, more than likely you're just not doing what's required. And if you want to see me blow a gasket, it's when someone will say something externally when it's really internally. So I'll give you an example. In my coaching program, when we started it, people would say, I really want to go do marketing. And they would literally say, but I just don't know what to do. Like, what do I do? And at the time, we didn't really have a good system around it. It would go do this, go do that. So, but what we did to answer the question of basically, what the fuck do I do? We created what we call a marketing checklist, which is a series of 8 things. So it's post on Instagram twice a day. It's reply to every new follower on Instagram. It's do 1 workshop a month. It's do 1 email a week. So it's literally a checklist, things to do. Very, very simple and easy. A few weeks ago, someone in our coaching program was like, "Oh, kind of like the coaching program is getting big. I kind of just feel lost, like I'm struggling in business. I don't know, I don't feel like I have the guidance type of thing." So what do? I go on their Instagram. It's the middle of November, the end of November. Remember, the marketing checklist, this is what to do, post twice a day. They haven't posted since August. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to see me blow a gasket, it's don't tell me that you don't know what to do. Don't tell me that you feel lost. Don't tell me about my program, and because you are not willing to do the first thing that is required. That will piss me off. It'd be like me going out there saying my golf game is bad. No shit, Sherlock. Maybe you should play more than twice a month, right? Maybe you should try to do the actual work required. I don't do it. So who am I going to get mad at?
Yeah.
So that's the stuff again where people just that stuff bothers me, because it's out there in front of them. They'll make an external excuse, but the reality is they're just not willing to do the thing in front of them, which they've already been told to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to look inside and then go out and look outside.
100%.
Always. It's if you're looking outside first and then inside, you're missing the whole picture. It just goes back to when people want to buy houses and they come to me and say, "Hey, everyone's buying the houses. How come I can't buy it?" Well, have you sat down with somebody and actually, have we looked at your numbers? No, I haven't. You know, so that's the reason we have to look at what we do inside. You know, same thing. Funny that you mentioned my business. Like I track everything for the past few years, right? And I was having a conversation with my wife about 6 months ago because I went through quite a steep drop in production, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" I was like, "Okay, let's sit down. Let's see what's going on." Well, I wasn't doing like you said. I wasn't doing what I was what I needed to do, which was being in front of the camera, letting people know that I'm in business. That if you need a mortgage, hey, this is you.
Right.
So, you know, bottom line, I was like, okay, am I disciplined enough to just be on camera all the time? Right? Maybe no. Maybe I get sidetracked with things from work and everything. So you know what? I have to make sure that this is going to cost me money, but this is what I need to do in order to make this happen. So if you're not doing it yourself, like you got to pay somebody else to do it, or you got to do something in order to keep that business going and in order to keep that marketing. You know, it just whatever you have to do, you got to do it.
100%.
So what's next for the next 5 years? What do you have in mind?
The next 5 years, that's a long time. I can tell you. The
next year, you know, what's the cool things that, you know?
So actually, speaking of podcast, we've done 200 episodes of the podcast every week for the last couple of years. We've made a big investment like this week actually in taking that to the next level of we know what we've seen is we don't have it tracked directly, which is what we're kind of making a bet on, is that the people that come into my program and are the best ones have listened to me, right? They've listened to me. Now we get on the camera and we talk and we do the thing, but there's no production value behind it. There's not a lot of thought behind it. We just make sure it gets done. So specifically, we're doing that. We have a big event coming up. January is usually our big live event. We do 3 a year, 2 in New Jersey, typically 1 we travel. So January 31st, we will be in Orlando. And so we're going to host 100 and we're how many weeks out? It's January 31st. Today, as this recording, we already have like 135 people signed up. So my wife, who does some of the back end coordination, the goal was to make her lose her mind because she's going to we're going to overbook the room, but that's the goal. So we're going to have a big live event and then in January, that's going to be great. I wrote my second book last year, a book on marketing. So I wrote a book on just business first, the Biz 101 book. I wrote a book on business, on marketing that was published last year. And we never did a book launch because we just got busy. So we're launching that next year. That's going to be happening early in the new year. And then I think what we're going to do at the practice, 2020, we had a big growth year actually during COVID. 2000 and then 21, 20, basically 22 to 24, we had like a massive growth. Remember I talked about in 2 or 3 years? We grew the business tremendously those couple years. Ashton and Kaylee grew the business. I kind of was a cheerleader on the sideline. This year was a year of stability where we've done well. We made profit, but we've stabilized it. So I think next year we're going to try to make another growth path there. Those are some of the big highlights. Using AI has been big for us. So we released an AI marketing bot that we trained. So we trained a bot that our clients now utilize, which it's really, it's mine. So obviously I'm going to say it's really good that our clients now are saving some of them like 6 to 7 hours a week to be able to create content, captions, and emails that we essentially took all of our content, trained the bot to understand what to say and who to say it to. And now the clients just have to be able to train that. So we have a marketing bot that we've worked on. We're also working on my team, our clients don't even know this. So we're working on a sales training bot too, where I've been playing around with it myself of how to look at sales calls with our sales process and utilize AI to be able to basically be the coach, so to speak. And it's been tremendous. Just the feedback that I've been able to deliver to my team has been awesome. So those are some of the things that we're looking at right now. And that's, again, it's like you said 5 years. I'm trying to get to February 1st here. So that's just getting into February at this point.
But let me ask you, and then I was going to finish before, but something just came up. Yeah. And so you mentioned the books.
Yes.
When you wrote your first book, was there a specific reason why you wrote the book? And I say this because I had a lot of people come in and for example, when I started this podcast.
Yeah.
and I started doing a lot of videos, and I
Yes.
started doing stuff. And you get people in business coming because they say, why are you doing that? Just focus on this. Why are you doing stuff? You're not there.
Mm-hmm.
What was the point? What made you write the book? And were you at a point where like, hey, I have a ton of people that want to hear about me? Or was it like, no, I'm writing a book because I want people to hear about me?
So the first thing you said was they told me you're not there. And it's like, if you want to just piss me off, it's just like, well, I'd never let anyone tell you where you're at. You have to create that. Mm-hmm. The first time I had a live event in New Jersey, we had, you're not there. I was like, okay, but like, I'm going to do it. And we had 40 people show up, but you know, there's no world in which that I should have done it from externally. But the reason also why I'm here is because I did it anyway. I actually misspoke. It's actually my third book. The first book I wrote was the book for the practice. You probably have it because you came in. And that book was, and I mean this respectfully because like I say this and I speak in jest, like it's not a good book. It's fine. Basically what I did with the first book, and I can tell you the reason why I did it, was I took blog posts that I wrote and I took case studies of my practice and I put into a book format. It's not a New York Times bestseller. Mm-hmm. The purpose of it was to be able to hand it out to our patients in our practice, our prospective patients in our practice that could get more information. It could have something physical because what we do is not physical. Like the people like houses because it's like you can see it, like an investment you can feel. In our practice, like you feel better, but you can't. So I wanted to give them something tangible. The story I'll tell you about books of why they're relevant actually happened here at Raritan Valley. So we're in a place here. There's a lot of doctors, lawyers, professionals. And at the end of the day, most people, you know, when you're around most people, no one cares. Doc, whatever, who cares? They had an event here a year or two ago, and they asked me if I would donate anything to the event. And I donated to the event, but in addition to that, on every table, everyone got, we put my first book about like how to solve back pain, something like that. Connor, who you know, works behind the bar, who's known me for 2 years, literally walks up to me and he goes, I didn't know you were a published author. That was actually the best reason why I wrote a book. There's a gravitas, there's a, oh wow, you wrote the book on this, that happens when you physically publish a book. People still, even today in 2026, podcasts and videos and YouTube, they still value, there's still a lot of like, whoa, he did the thing, she did the thing about writing the book, the physical book. And so the first book was for the practice. The Biz 101 book was for the reason of like, okay, he wrote the book on this. He wrote the book on this. Now I'm going to write the book on marketing. And for me, it's about creating assets within the business. But deeper than that, the real reason why you write the book is one of my philosophies in life and business is because most people won't. That's right. Most people won't. And so now I'll have my third book published. How many people have one? Very few. How many people have two? Some, very few. How many people have three? Very few. I just this morning was texting with one of my mentors. I have already put my stake in the ground that I'm doing it. And I'm going to say it here too for my own. We're writing the leadership book next. How many people are going to have 4 books? Less. So, but categorically, it's like I'm going to do the thing that other people aren't willing to do. And so that'll be the next one.
What was the feeling when you actually did it?
The feeling, so people say in writing, people hate writing, but love having written. And I think that's real, right? To like hold it up that you actually did it. But at the end of the day, it's more about the process of writing it. The part that sucks is actually the best part of it. Because again, in my brain, it's like, no one will do this. Right? Yeah. I had a ghostwriter. I've done written them myself. I've used a ghostwriter. I've edited, like I've done all of it before. And having completed it, is a good accomplishment. It's good to have a physical thing that we actually have. But even with that, it's like then the real work starts because now we're trying to figure out how to promote it, which is a whole other ball of wax. I have a call in about 30 minutes of the next stage of now to get the book out and promote it, to get it to the right customers, to like, where do you put it? So the work never ends, but that's the game.
But in terms of it internally, like just being able to do it, did it give you like confidence to do other things? I mean, I'm you know, was it like, hey, you know, it's kind of like.
No, I mean, I think over time internally, I think confidence or I look at self-belief is self-belief to me is more important. And the difference is in self-belief is internal. Confidence is external. Like confidence, like, yeah, I wrote the book. Self-belief is internal, meaning that if I say I'm going to do it, it's going to be done.
It's going to be done.
And so the fact that I just believe that to be true, I had the conversation today about writing the leadership book. I don't know what it's going to look like, who is going to like, I know nothing, but I just know it's going to get done. Yeah. And so, is it proof to me that I'll continue to do it? Meh, kinda, but I already I know that, right? I know that about myself. So yeah, it's a good sort of physical symbol in a world in which things like live on the computer. It's a good physical way to like put your stamp in the ground, so to speak. But yeah, I think for most people, again, it's just, they wouldn't think of doing it. There's also a world in which, going back of if I were Dani, and why would a book be important? Because think about this. It's like, Dani, why are you qualified to help me with this product? It's like, because I wrote the book on it. Right? I wrote the book on it. It's like, yeah, okay, got it.
I'll tell you what, we're going to finish it there because, yeah, that is probably the best thing. You wrote the book on this.
Wrote the book on it. So
thanks a lot, bro.
Appreciate
the time here.
Absolutely.